Okay, one final thing that we have to do in the macro sheet before we move on to recoding these votes is that we need to insert a cross-check column. So I'm going to just enter a label xcheck. And what I want to do is I want to get a value in that column that I'm going to use to make sure that I did my recoding correctly later in this process. So here's the thing that we need to do. So here the sponsor voted nay, and we need to invert it. So the sponsor voted nay, so take this nay column and just recode it over here, 249. This one over here is going to be 377. This one here will be, this is an I vote, so it'll be 240. And so on and so on. I'll just pause here and then we'll kind of keep. Okay, so I've got my columns coded, and so all of these, if they're yes, I just took the nay vote position for all of those and put it out there. On these ones where the sponsor voted aye, I'll take the aye vote, so this one's 240. Down here, I run into another one, and so I take that 218, and then the final passage vote is 240, the number of ayes. So the rest of those line up, and I'm done. I would save this and go ahead and print it off a copy for yourself because you're going to need this when we get to the next step. So I'll go ahead and print this, and we are done with this initial step, and we're moving on. So our next step is that we need to import this micro-level database into SPSS because that's where we're going to recode these member positions and calculator dependent variable. So I've got this sheet up. I'm going to save it to my desktop, and then I'm going to close it, and then I've got SPSS open. You can find that off of your program file off of this menu down here. So if you just go up here, all programs, you'll be able to find SPSS 24. Go in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to go look for that particular file, and then we're going to kind of open it through that one menu that we did before. So here I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to have it look for Excel files, and I'm going to have a couple of them. I've got this kind of 2103 thing in there. I got 3320 macro, and I got 3320 micro, and so that's the one I'm going to import. I'm going to click open, and I'm going to let that thing run its course. Okay, so when it asks to read the Excel file, it's going to give you this particular menu, and you want it to read variable names from the first row. If it doesn't have any, it'll insert those. Percentage of values, determine data type, I guess that's fine. Ignore hidden rows. Don't do that one. That one off. Percentage of values, that's fine. And then let's go OK. And let's see if this thing will run and give us what we need. So here what we have now is we've got these kind of columns, and then we've got these V4. So see, it took those columns that we have all the same columns, but what it is, it converted and it gave me a series of variable names. So if we go to the variable view names, there's two levels of SPSS. One is the data view and one is the variable view. And so you'll see here V1 ICPSR. This is my ICPSR number. V525, V526, V527, 528, 529, etc. And those are the ones that I'm going to want to be working with here. So our next step is that we need to at first recode these cast positions into a dichotomous variable, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, so our first step in any of this is we need to save this data because you're getting ready to manipulate these variable columns, and if you get them wrong, you're going to have to go back to the initial version. So this is the way I usually do that. I'll go up here and I'll do save as. I'll do pols 3320 p3 micro example, and then what I'll do is I'll do a version 001, and so I'll have that version out there in case I mess something up and I can go back to it. So save that one to your desktop, and now you're ready to recode these variables into different ones. Okay, so you're now ready to go ahead and recode these variables columns, the 525s, the 526s, etc. And to do that, we're going to use this column in the instructions, and we're going to go from the old vote view code to the new vote view code, right? Or the new code that we're going to use. And so zeros are going to become system missing, ones are going to stay ones, twos are going to become ones, threes are going to become ones, this 4 through 8 is going to be a 0, and then 9 is going to be system missing, predicated on what these roll call votes actually mean. So let's go through and do that process. Again, make sure that you save that previous version as a 1 because you're getting ready to mess with these kind of values, and you may have to go back to the previous versions. In order to do this, you need to go up to Transform, Recode into same variables, and I'm going to move over all of those variables that I want to work with. So I'm going to move these over and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I have selected on a value and used this arrow thing to take it over into these values over here. And so over here I have the list of the variables that I'm going to recode, and it goes from my vote 525 all the way up to 540. I look through that, everything looks good there. If I page through here, I don't have any of these other V's that are like 3 digits, so I think I'm looking okay. Everything seems to be fine. And so now I'm ready to do old and new values. So the first value is going to be 0 is going to become system missing. So I'm just going to insert 0 and then click system missing. And then I'm going to add that rule to this list of code changes, right? The next value, 1 stay as 1, but we're going to code 2s as 1s. And so I'm going to add that one. And then I'm going to add 3s as 1s. Then 4 is going to be the first one that's a 0. And I'm going to add it, and I'll pause here and I'll finish the rest of them and I'll be right back. Okay, so these are my coding rules. I'm going to do 0 to system missing, 2s and 3s are going to be 1s, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be 0s, and then 9 is going to be system missing as well. That's exactly, it lines up with my table and my instructions, so I'm good. So at this point, I've got all of the votes that I want to code up here in this list. I've got my old and new rules. These are the series of rules that I'm going to use to recode. Click continue there, and I'm going to cross my fingers and click OK. And then what happens is you'll get this output and it'll tell you recode those variables, and then it'll tell you the different values that you did, 0 to system miss, etc., etc., etc. Go back to this sheet and you will see that these have now been recoded, and you've got 0s and 1s. You have a dichotomous variable in there now. Do yourself a favor, go up here, File, Save As, and change this from example version 2 to example version 1 to version 2, because if you mess up the next step, you're going to have to come back to the second version. So save this one right here. I had already done that. I've got a version out there on the desktop, so just click Save, and we're good. I'm going to end this video here, and I'll start on the next one where we invert the votes and do our cross-check.